Welcome to the OU Football Preview Show. I'm Heath. With me this week, Mark Rodgers, and we're at Bar Chichetti, where they are featuring a cherry bomb, and that is a wonderful cherry bomb right there, brought to us by Logan, the bartender here at Bar Chichetti on Northeast 2nd Street here, just up from Deep Deuce. Ah, wow, poof! Best entrance we've had in a while to a show, Mark.
I was worried you're going to bust that bubble, Rick. But it busts on its own.
We got to bust somebody's bubble. And last week, Iowa State busted West Virginia's bubble.
Yeah, Iowa State played maybe its best game of the season. West Virginia was going in there. They were a touchdown underdog. They had some COVID issues, but Iowa State was very good offensively. I didn't think they played very well in Austin the week before, and then bounced back at home and played a really good game. And so we have a Big 12 championship matchup set.
Big 12 championship, even though, the game, West Virginia, OU doesn't mean anything, they're going to go ahead and play it because it means exactly $3.5 million to the Big 12.
That's right.
TV money.
Yeah, if you've got to play the games, you get the TV money, and so I see why it's important for Oklahoma to do that. And look, I think OU's out of the rating for the playoff. So they're in the Big 12 championship game. To me, the most important goal of the season right now is to win a 6th consecutive Big 12 championship, something that's never been done. Clemson has a chance to win its 6th straight conference championship this year, so that's something to play for. It's a game. I mean, you get more experience for your players.
The way the season started with 2 losses there in conference, we're thinking, geez, okay, so this is a complete rebuild and all that, and all of a sudden, now they've turned it around. They have a chance, 6 straight conference championships, as you said, never been done. Going to West Virginia for a Saturday game, and there's been some very memorable Saturday games in West Virginia between OU and West Virginia. We'll talk about that when we get back. But let me tell you about Bar Chichetti here on Northeast 2nd Street, just up in the Deep Deuce area, just up from Bricktown, right across from Aloft Hotel. They got wonderful drink specials. We've got a fall spritzer, an old fashioned, and a cherry bomb here brought to us by Logan, the bartender here. And what a great selection of beverages here. And wonderful big screen behind us, and you can come watch your favorite sporting event. Bowl season will be coming up, the abbreviated bowl season, of course. But bowl season and the Thunder will be tipping off next week. So all that available here at Bar Chichetti in Deep Deuce.
Bar Chichetti in Deep Deuce, 121 Northeast 2nd Street here in Deep Deuce. Great new bar area here and sports and restaurant. Got a huge big screen here. You can come watch college football or World Series, whatever you'd like here at Bar Chichetti. I want to talk about a great sponsor of the OU Football Preview Show, and that's Prairie Wolf Spirits, distilled right here in Guthrie, Oklahoma, right here in Oklahoma at Guthrie. Great company. They provide gin, vodka, and the new dark, Prairie Wolf Dark, which goes great in the fall here in the cold weather. Hot coffee, cocoa, whatever you like, Prairie Wolf Dark will go well with that. And any of your coffee drinks, Prairie Wolf Dark will make that a better drink. And it is carried in a lot of places in Oklahoma. If your local restaurant establishment, whatever, doesn't carry Prairie Wolf Spirits, ask them to carry Prairie Wolf Spirits so that you can have Prairie Wolf Dark, Prairie Wolf Gin, or Prairie Wolf Vodka. And any vodka drink is better with Prairie Wolf Vodka. Prairie Wolf Spirits, right here in Guthrie, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma Distilled. Welcome to the Cohiba Lounge next to Royal Pipes and Tobacco. A great place to come watch your favorite sporting event, have your favorite beverage, and smoke your favorite cigar. All at the Cohiba Lounge in Norman, Jenkins, and Boyd. A great place to come watch your sporting event, cigar, and a drink. All at Cohiba Lounge next to the best selection of cigars in Norman at Royal Pipes and Tobacco.
And welcome back. OU Football Preview Show. Mark Rodgers, Rick Heath from Bar Chichetti here in Deep Deuce. Great place to come watch your favorite sporting event and have wonderful drinks and great food here at Bar Chichetti. They also feature Prairie Wolf Spirits. Prairie Wolf Spirits out of Guthrie, Oklahoma, our own very own distillery there in Guthrie. Great spirits, gin, vodka, and the dark, which is great for coffee drinks. So all that's featured here Prairie Wolf Spirits featured here at Bar Chichetti. Mark, as I said before the break, some very memorable games, in Morgantown, coming OU and West Virginia. Golly, I mean, how many times did OU have to come back and score with the last possession? And I mean, just outrageously high-scoring, fun games.
Well, the most memorable thing about any West Virginia game for Oklahoma since the Big 12 has happened is that they've never lost. Oklahoma's beaten West Virginia every time they've played. Now, if you go back in the 80s...
Well, they've done that to Iowa State, too, so that one was out this year.
Right. Well, I think that, it's those high-scoring games, that's not the norm now. West Virginia's got a new coach, Neil Brown, concentrating a little bit more on defense. This is the best defense Oklahoma's had in a long time, and so I expect a pretty low-scoring affair in this one. We're not going to see Tavon Austin in the house or Kyler Murray again. Yeah, some of those games are just they've been crazy. They've been fun to watch.
They've been fun to watch and entertaining. Fortunately, as you said, OU's won them. You're talking about West Virginia's defense. At one time, it was up to number 5 in the country, in some of the categories. OU has been number 7 in the country, so you're right. I mean, those are good defensive. You don't see defensive ratings like that in the Big 12, and you have it in the past. Now, as you said, more emphasis with Alex Grinch and Neil Brown there in West Virginia. I mean, that's going to be the norm going forward. But this Saturday, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, does OU lose their edge? I mean,
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think it's just another game. And I'll tell you, the good thing for OU this week would be they didn't play well last week. And so there's a lot to look at on film. The offensive line has been really good, but they didn't play very well against Baylor last week. And so I think you go in and, hey, the defense, they're just on a roll right now. They're playing some good football. So I think that for them, you expect that they go in and handle their business for the offense. There's some motivation on tape from the Baylor game to have them do a little bit better. And plus, Rick, it's like a warm-up for the championship game. That's next week. So I don't think that they look at this and say, we can't wait for Iowa State. I think it's just another opportunity to perform.
It should be. It should be. It should be their focus. They had to take off some time, away from it. Wondering how well that would do against Baylor, and it showed. They were not quite as sharp offensively as they've been. And West Virginia played at Iowa State, and Iowa State handled them pretty good.
Well, I expect West Virginia to play a little bit better too. Maybe they're a little bit further down the road from the COVID situations that they had that put a scare into actually having that game. And so I think that they're going to have some things to play for too.
Well, Dagy's a good quarterback. I mean, he's not one of their best quarterbacks coming in from years past, but he's good, and he's averaging 300 yards a game passing. They've got some good wide receivers, and then Lenny Brown's a good rushing running back. So they've got some weapons.
They do have some weapons. At times they've been a little turnover prone, so I think that's one area where the Oklahoma defense can possibly take advantage of them. But Rick, I think the real story of the season is the OU defense. It's just played so well. The defensive front has been good. Freshman cornerbacks have played really well, so there's some hope for the future. May lose some guys that we didn't expect to go pro early. Ronnie Perkins, Prairie Winfrey. Those guys may not be back next season, but they've at least established that the recruiting, I think, is on the rise on that side of the football.
Well, the play is definitely on the rise on that side of the football. They're starting to get the identity, the Alex Grinch identity. Last year it was kind of hit and miss the first couple of weeks of the games, first couple of games. A little questionable, but as you said, that front four with Perkins and Winfrey and Isaiah Thomas and Nick Benita, those guys have been dominant up to this point.
They've been great. Isaiah Thomas had an unbelievable game against Baylor last week with 3 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks. His story is just awesome. You never would have expected him to blossom into an All-Big 12 player, which I think he is this season.
Well, he's playing up to that caliber, and he could be Big 12 Player of the Year if he keeps playing that way. Hey, we are at Bar Chichetti here in Deep Deuce, a great place for food, drinks, and entertainment, and a big screen bigger than any here in Oklahoma. Come watch your favorite sporting event on the big screen, have some great food and great drinks here at Bar Chichetti.
Whoa, easy, big fella. We don't need a chainsaw maniac around here. Trees are like family. You want to keep them healthy and happy. At Arbor Masters, we've been doing this for over 60 years. Trees trust us, and people love us. See? So just go find someplace else, okay? All right, big tree. We'll get you through this.
Call Arbor Masters. Trees trust us, and you can too.
Going up.
Welcome back. OU football preview show. Heath, Mark Rodgers from Bartichetti here in Deep Deuce. Great place. Northeast 2nd across the Mayloft Hotel. Food, drink, and entertainment all available here at Bartichetti. And they feature Prairie Wolf Spirits, a wonderful distillery, our own distillery here in Guthrie, Oklahoma, with gin, vodka, and dark, the dark, which is great for coffee drinks, all featured here at Bartichetti. Mark, now, the OU offense didn't play as well against Baylor. They had a little bit of delay there where they were away from, the facility for a while, and so they didn't come back with that continuity that they had before. But I really look for that to regenerate against West Virginia. Even though West Virginia's got a pretty good defense, you saw what Iowa State was able to do against that West Virginia defense. I think OU will be able to do the same.
Well, and we talked about why play this game, and I think that's a great point that you just hit on, is the continuity. It's good to play a game and get some of the stuff behind it. That really kind of started to happen the week of the Oklahoma State game, and then continued through the week of the postponement, and then through Baylor, and so now you're just that much further away from the COVID situations. And so for OU, I think what they've really got to do after last week is block. They didn't run the football as effectively as they have at times this season. Give Rattler a little bit more time to throw the football. And the Stills brothers for West Virginia are good defensive players on the defensive line. So they got to control that aspect of the line of scrimmage. To me, that's the most important part of the game. If OU could do that, they'll be okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was looking at. 3 of the keys here. The first key I've got, of course, as always, no turnovers. Mm-hmm. They've been pretty good about that. No fumbles, no interceptions for the most part. Rattler did throw one, but, those are the kind of things that happen if you're playing, that wide open style. But right now, no turnovers. And on the other side of the ball, get turnovers from the defense.
That's true, and Daigie's been turnover prone at times. And so for the Oklahoma defense, I think, that's important. And I just think you want to see continued progression from Spencer Rattler. You don't want to get to the point where he's throwing an interception in every game. He had a pretty bad one in the Kansas game. He had one last week, as you mentioned. So I think, get that away from you. Focus on playing a mistake-free game. And then the more that happens, the more he's going to progress throughout his career.
And you've already mentioned my other point, and that's run the ball. The offensive line needs to get that continuity back, get where they can. They're working in tandem and where they can fire out, because to me, running the ball with Stevenson helps everything else on the offensive side of it.
No question. And he's such a weapon. They threw it to him a lot in the Oklahoma State game. So, doing those things, when you can run and control the clock, especially with the defense Oklahoma has now, they've got that luxury. Keep those guys fresh and off the field, and it should be a good day for them.
Well, and that was the difference between the old defenses OU played was, a lot of times the other team did so much, the defense was back out there because the OU offense was scoring quick. So the defense, when it was playing bad, continually exposed. Well, now it's the other way around. Last week when they played against Baylor, the defense carried that offense, and they helped them. And hey, the offensive players were appreciative of that.
Yeah, no question. And OU held Baylor to less than 1 yard a rush, or right around 1 yard a rush, and they threw it 56 times. And it's not a position that you want to be in. And you talked about it earlier. Art Briles has gone from the league. Cliff Kingsbury has gone from the league. Dana Holgerson has gone from the league. More defensive-oriented coaches have come in. So I think they're really going to see a new Big 12, and I think Lincoln Riley's learned from that. It's not how fast you can score, it's how much you can manage the game.
Well, and then the other thing is they just need to get pressure on the West Virginia quarterback with just the front four. So far, they've really been able to do that in most games in this Big 12.
Yeah, the Oklahoma front four is hard to block. There's no doubt about that. Those guys have played really well.
And that, so to me, what that does is it gives the defensive backs, more of an opportunity to do things, because when you're exposed, you can't get pressure, and the quarterback's got 4 seconds or 5 seconds to find somebody. Somebody's going to work their way open, and that's what plagued them in the past. But now with the front four getting pressure, those defensive backs aren't having to cover as long.
There's no question about that. I mean, we have to cover for 4, 5, 6 seconds. Anybody's going to look bad. I think, again, the freshman back there, Woody Washington really stepped in the Texas game, and he's continued to play well. He'll be back this week, which will be a big deal for the OU secondary.
Yeah, and the secondary's playing better, and what's happening with it is who's going to be able to play. And we'll talk about who might be out, who might be playing when we get back here. OU Football Preview Show, Mark Rodgers, Rick Heath from Bar to Chetty.
Whoa, easy, big fella. We don't need a chainsaw maniac around here. Trees are like family. You want to keep them healthy and happy. At Arbor Masters, we've been doing this for over 60 years. Trees trust us, and people love us. See? So just go find someplace else, okay? All right, big tree. We'll get you through this.
Call Arbor Masters. Trees trust us, and you can too.
Going up.
Bar to Chetty in Deep Deuce, 121 Northeast 2nd Street here in Deep Deuce. Great new bar area here and sports and restaurant. Got a huge big screen here. You can come watch college football or World Series, whatever you'd like here at Bar to Chetty. I want to talk about a great sponsor of the OU Football Preview Show, and that's Prairie Wolf Spirits, distilled right here in Guthrie, Oklahoma, right here in Oklahoma at Guthrie. Great company. They provide gin, vodka, and the new dark, Prairie Wolf Dark, which goes great in the fall here in the cold weather. Hot coffee, cocoa, whatever you like, Prairie Wolf Dark will go well with that. And any of your coffee drinks, Prairie Wolf Dark will make that a better drink. And it is carried in a lot of places in Oklahoma. If your local restaurant establishment, whatever, doesn't carry Prairie Wolf Spirits, ask them to carry Prairie Wolf Spirits so that you can have Prairie Wolf Dark, Prairie Wolf Gin, or Prairie Wolf Vodka. And any vodka drink is better with Prairie Wolf Vodka. Prairie Wolf Spirits, right here in Guthrie, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma Distilled.
And welcome back, OU Football Preview Show. Mark Rodgers, Rick Heath here at Bar Chetty, where they have great food. We have some loaded fries there they want us to consume afterwards, and some great wings. Plus they have all kinds of other good food here available. And autumn spritzer, an old fashioned, and a cherry bomb here were provided by Logan, the bartender, to show off the skills they have in making wonderful drinks here at Bar Chetty. We talked about Spencer Rattler and the offense didn't do as well last week, and I think it has, you can kind of put it off on maybe being away from the facility and having a pause in practice or whatever, but that's something they're going to be playing in the Big 12 championship game after West Virginia, no matter what happens. So I look at this game Saturday a way to get that momentum, because Iowa State played West Virginia really, really well and looked good. Oklahoma needs to do kind of the same to get rid of that Big 12 championship.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's important that they have a nice outing before that game. Iowa State is, again, probably, other than the Oklahoma game, that may have been their best game. In Austin, break here or there. They've trailed in the game against Texas for 58 minutes.
Yeah.
And they led for a minute and a half and won. So they present some interesting problems for OU. One, the tight end sets, the big tight ends, including the Norman native, Charlie Kohler, who's so good against Oklahoma's smaller type of defensive backs. You're tough though, Rick. I mean, you're feisty, but they've got to be able to cover that tight end groupings, which is difficult. And Kohler had a big day and made a really fantastic catch against West Virginia. Iowa State's also really aggressive, and they cause you to think on offense. They have a 3-3-5 alignment, and it's been really inventive what Matt Campbell's done with that. He's really, I think, is the first guy that brought this kind of defensive approach to the Big 12, where you're not quite sure who's going to be in the box. Guys are dropping and guys are stepping up.
And the line's having to make those adjustments all along.
That's right.
As they're moving in and out.
It's a tough call on the offensive coordinator to know. You're going to run sometimes into what looks like a 5-man box, and it's actually going to be a 7-man box. You're going to throw sometimes into 8 guys dropping, and their defensive line can get pressure. They're really good up front. Mike Rosa, really good linebacker. Greg Eisworth is just a perfect player for that 3-3-5 because he's a hybrid linebacker and safety. He's physical enough to be a hitting linebacker, and he's agile enough to be a pass coverage guy in the secondary. So that's one thing that Iowa State does really well, is they can give you some different looks on defense.
Well, that's what Spencer Rattler has got to be prepared for, because as a young quarterback, all the different looks that Matt Campbell and Iowa State are bringing to him, I mean, he's really going to have to be comfortable in what he's calling and where he's going with the ball, because they want you to think one thing and then do something else.
Well, I think it's also a perfect test for the Oklahoma offensive line. Is if you remember in Ames, they go right down the field. They can't put it in 3 times from the 1-yard line, and they're forced to go for it. They're forced to kick field goals. That's what happened at Texas. Texas moved the football in the middle of the field a lot of the game against Iowa State, but in short yardage situations, they were shut down, had to kick a field goal. They got stuffed on a 4th down and inches. And so when Iowa State gets in that box, that shows you how competitive that their front 7 can be.
And so OU goes to West Virginia, plays this game. You want to build some momentum. You want to get continuity. You want to feel good about both sides of the ball going into that Big 12. Right now, the defense is playing well. That needs to continue. The offense didn't do as well against Baylor, but we need to see that spark on the offensive side of the ball. And I think the best way to do it, as you said earlier, run the ball and run it effectively.
Yeah, that's true. And again, a good test for the Oklahoma offensive line, because they come off one of their worst performances since the beginning of the season, or perhaps their worst performance since early in the season when the running game simply wasn't there.
So, okay, I'll give you an over-under. 250 yards passing, over-under for OU.
That should be over.
I think that should be an over.
Right.
200 yards rushing, I think that's an under.
Yes.
Because I just don't know how well they're going to be running the ball and how dedicated they're going to be doing to just pounding it.
Well, 450 or 500 yards against West Virginia would be pretty good. You feel real comfortable about winning that game, because I don't think the West Virginia offense can put up enough points unless there's turnovers to move the ball that consistently against this OU defense.
And I don't know that OU, with coming off that Baylor game, is going to be capable of that either. But that's what we were looking at after the Bedlam game. That was kind of the offense that was generating against the OSU defense. Now, obviously, they had to step back against Baylor. Can they regenerate against West Virginia and get ready for a very competitive and very tough Iowa State? That's the question I see going into Saturday.
Yeah, I like their chances. At some points you have to give Baylor a little bit of credit. I mean, Oklahoma's a 22, 23-point favorite, and a lot of people are going, he's winning, they're winning big every week. But Baylor's played close games this year. They haven't been blown out by anybody.
They only got beat one time by double digits.
That's correct. So I think that, again, you combine the fact that OU had to deal some things. They had a lot of personnel out. It has to be unbelievably difficult to have being coached by a coach in practices on Zoom.
Zoom practice?
I don't know. I
don't know about that.
Only in 2020 can you do that. And so hopefully those things are behind them, and they can kind of pick up some of the momentum that they had late in October.
And I think they will. I've got my guess on prediction is 48-20.
All right.
And I don't know if they can get to the 48 mark, but I'm real comfortable that West Virginia's not going to get to the 20 mark. So I think, OU will win. They win comfortably. May not be just a stellar offensive performance, but I think the defense will carry it through.
Yeah, I see it a little lower scoring than that. I'd say something in the neighborhood of 38-13, something like that. That's what I would expect. Maybe Oklahoma a little lower scoring than that as well, too.
Hey, from Mark Rodgers, I'm Rick Heath. We'll see you next time on the OU Football Preview Show.